could be a walking Snapple lid. You're going to see that butterfly effect into your entire life. Later on, I will skim the book because Lord knows I can't read. Everything you learn that seems like it could change your life, share it with other people and change their lives as well. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Ashley and I have dedicated this channel to changing people's lives by changing their perception and then giving a deep-rooted foundation of understanding so you can branch off and change your own life. Today is the beginning of a new reading series where we talk about why reading is so important, and that is crazy to come from someone like me because I feel like there's either two types of people in this world. There's the people who read and the people who don't. And I have always been the person who doesn't read. I couldn't read. It was really, really hard for me. In case you're one of those reading people and you don't understand how one can't read, yes, I have dyslexia, but I would like sit there and read and something happens in my mind where I turn the page and then something clicks and I'm like, wait, what did I just read? And I don't know if it's because I was too distracted or because my mind was racing or what was really going on, but as you can tell, I'm like rereading and rereading and rereading the same content, and obviously that could be kind of frustrating for someone to read. So I'm gonna go into how I turned that around and how I am officially a reader now, but I'm also gonna talk about why it's so important to read because, again, changing your perception is the beginning to changing your life. And just a little disclaimer, I am 100% talking about nonfiction books, like those educational books that will change your life. I'm not talking about someone who has a hard time reading, wasting your time, not learning anything. So to go into why reading is so important, I'm gonna use a business concept because for some reason people can really apply their strategic mind towards a business when they can't their own life. And if you could apply your strategic mind towards your life, you could hit some serious goals. So think if you had a business and you were like, my business is doing good, it's bringing in money, I'm not going to make my business any better. And you just thought you were going to own this business for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 more years, and with the intentions of not making it any better. Is that even realistic for a business? Business development is a crucial part of a thriving business. Personal development is a crucial part of your personal life, which is where the nonfiction books come in. Imagine if you had a pretty good family and you went to family counseling and your family got better. I honestly thought therapy and counseling and self-help books, I thought those were for broken people. But it doesn't matter if you're top-notch or if you're broken. You always have room to go up. So imagine that kind of concept to all things life. You could increase your parenting skills, you could increase your dog skills, you could increase your personal relationships, you know, whether that's with your spouse or your friends or your co-workers. You could start learning about emotional intelligence, which is one of the books I'm going to go into in this book series. If I haven't made myself clear yet, it is very, very important to develop yourself. So Joe Dispenza, he is a phenomenal guy who really changes people's lives, whether it's their life going on externally or internally with health. He literally put his spine back together with his mind. Like, this guy is legit. But something he says that I really, really like is your personality and your personal reality go hand in hand. And to change both, you have to change both. And he talks about how people get stuck in this loop of wanting to change their life, but not doing anything to change their life. And he says, imagine if you woke up on the same side of the bed, you did the same thing you always do, you go to the same job, you see the same people, you do the same thing, you come home the same way you always do, you do the same things whenever you come home. You might eat something a little different, but you're still gonna eat. You still do everything new. You don't develop your mind, you don't do new things. And so one of the ways that you can change yourself, change your life, is by learning new things, especially reading nonfiction books. If you're not a reader and you start educating yourself, you're going to see that butterfly effect into your entire life. You are growing your mind rapidly. You are learning things from people who have gone to school for years and years and years, and you're just reading a book. And on the note of how books can change your life, I'm about to film a video on my top 5 parenting books, but I actually found that self-help books are a good source of parenting books, and this kind of goes hand in hand with how books can change your life, because changing your perception changes your life. But in a sense, self-help books are life concepts that were missed during your childhood. You are learning things that your parents didn't teach you as children. So imagine you as an adult growing yourself, learning these self-help books, and you can use those life concepts to teach your children. So not only are you bettering yourself and changing your life, you're changing your child's life, and you're probably going to change your grandchild's life. You're changing generations of people just by you reading a dang book. So if that didn't change your mind, I don't know, maybe Google will. I decided on here on camera I would go ahead and Google. There's a hair. Oh my god, the hair is still there. Okay. Nonfiction unfolds the reality. You get to know real people in their lives. The nonfiction enlightens one. That sounds really cool. It enlightens one with a specific idea of subjectivity. It also gives knowledge to a specific subject, which learning new things, it provides you with facts. Factual. Factual people are cool. The Snapple lid. You could be a walking Snapple lid. Think about that. So, hopefully I've changed your mind on why reading is so important and crucial to changing your life. I'm going to talk about how I became an official reader on that side of the reader, non-reader type of people, because I can't read very well still to this day. Even though I have read more books this year than I have my entire life, and it's only September. It's the beginning of September. Okay, so how I became a reader and how I think you could become a reader too. I'm gonna start by telling my story with why I got into reading. It was one of those like, this is not a coincidence and God is telling me to read this book. I was pulling out of a doctor's office and I put on a podcast by Rachel Hollis. I had never listened to her podcast before, but I just scrolled and I clicked. And I clicked on one that was like featuring a life coach, and he sounded really cool. So I exited out of Rachel Hollis's podcast and I started listening to his podcast. I literally scrolled and clicked. And the one I clicked was a guy named Dave Hollis, and I was like, Rachel Hollis, this life coach, Dave Hollis, is this Rachel Hollis's husband? And I know they're getting a divorce now, 2020, whatever, this was a while ago. So basically, I listened to him talk the entire ride to Target before COVID, and he was talking about his book, Get Out of Your Own Way. And it just sounded like a really good book of how he had a lot of life lessons and how he turned them around and realized he was subject to stopping himself. Pushing the cart around Target, my 4-year-old was like, I want to push the cart. So she was pushing the cart and she bumped into these pillar of books. And I'm not joking, from top to bottom was Dave Hollis's book, Get Out of Your Own Way. And I was kind of like, oh my gosh, this is like a bunch of weird coincidences. So the next day, driving back to the doctor, I was going to look on YouTube to see if the Audible was there, and I found some other book that I had clicked on. I don't know what it was. Right before I turned the car off, he was like, never ignore a hunch. And I was like, man, I've got to get this book. And that book was life-changing. I am going to use so many of those life lessons. I want to listen to it again. I listened to it on Audible. I want to buy the book because I have a new system of how I'm going to help you become a reader like me. I got Audible, I got my free book, I was listening to it, and I loved it. It was a really good book. But the problem is, it was such a good book that if I were to reference certain things, it would be so hard for me to find that specific sentence because it's like an entire several-hour book. So now what I do is I get nonfiction books on Audible, and if I like them and they seem educational, keep in mind I am not a book person, but if I listen to the first few minutes of a book, I can tell if I'm gonna like the book or not. So if I really like it and it seems educational, I'm going to buy the hard copy. And I listen to Audible on my drives, rarely while I'm cleaning, because nonfiction books I really have to focus on, especially the educational ones. And then later on, I will skim the book because Lord knows I can't read, and I will go through and highlight certain sections that I see important. That way, whenever I am ready to share the information with other people, because it is very, very selfish to learn new things and keep it to yourself. I'm just gonna say that right then and there. So yeah, I will reference what I highlighted again for other people, and honestly, it's like 10 more bucks. Like, it's so worth it. And if I don't like the book on Audible, not a lot of people know this, but you can exchange your books on Audible. If you finish the book all the way to the end and you're like, I really didn't like this book, you can still return the book and get a credit back for that book. So it's kind of like non-ending. I have returned a few books, but I can honestly say that I started listening to them and I genuinely didn't like them. So this was just another way that changed my perception on nonfiction books, because I thought nonfiction books were super factual, super boring, and just super nonfiction. But I was totally wrong. I'm sure there are a ton of books out there that exist like that. I'm sure I didn't just make it up in my head. But a lot of nonfiction books are actually told from the author in first person. And so in a sense, it's like you're getting to know the author of the book as they share their life lessons. They share their journey. They share the things that they've learned, and they educate you through their life. I hope this changed your perception on why you should be reading nonfiction books and why they're so important in your life. And I hope you reach out and start buying them, reading them, listening to them, consuming them in some sort of way, and passing that information on to someone else, whether it's your children, your friends, social media. Everything you learn that seems like it could change your life, share it with other people and change their lives as well. I'll have a few of my favorite books in the comments down below, and my next video is going to be my top 5 parenting books, so if you're a parent, stay tuned for that. And comment down below if you are a reader type person or a not reader type of person, and if you are a reader or if you're not a reader who still reads, go ahead and leave some comments down below for everyone, including myself, on some tips that could be useful to help someone read more. I'll be uploading new videos every Monday and Friday, and occasionally vlogs on Wednesday, so make sure you're subscribed to get those notifications, and I'll see you then. Bye.